there, welcome back everyone. So today I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the foods I eat to help me stay healthy and that have helped me lose weight and maintain my weight loss. I think one of the meals I always struggled with a lot was lunch, because I used to fall back on having just a sandwich, and often for me that would be a very beige sandwich, if you like, just a peanut butter sandwich or something. So I'm going to show you the sort of lunch that I have that enables me to incorporate lots of different healthy ingredients, feel really full up and sustained, but it's also not that difficult to put together, and you can adapt it to the sort of foods that you like and that you have on hand. And it's also the sort of lunches that you could pack ahead if you have to go into the office or something. Excuse me, apologies if you can hear a load of noise. There's a load of building work going on at the house behind me, and it starts at 8 AM and it goes on all day. Hopefully they'll be finished soon. Anyway, so yeah, we're going to talk about a little bit about how to put together a nice healthy lunch using the sort of bowl concept that I like to use, which is just we assemble everything together, mix it all up. And I'm going to show you a few quick and easy snack swaps that you can make without, again, having to rely on just grabbing and go, something that maybe isn't the best for you. And I'm going to show you a few store cupboard essentials that I just topped up on at my local sort of food store, yes, but it's a shop that sells lots of different products from all around the world. It sells lots of unusual things, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, tins of random things you've never seen before. It's a really interesting shop. Anyway, let me just adjust the camera down and I'll show you what I bought first at the shop this morning. So if you've seen my earlier video where I showed you what I have in my cupboard, you'll know that I have lots of jars. I use these big old coffee jars because they're free essentially once you've drunk the coffee. And I have lots of nuts and seeds because not only are they incredibly good for us, they get you a real plant diversity, and also I'm vegan, so it's a great source of healthy fats and proteins, etc. for me as well. Excuse me, I must have a sip of tea. I've got a bit of a sore throat today. Hold on a sec. So, first thing I topped up was dry roasted almonds. They're just almonds, but I get the roasted ones because I have a slight, it's not a nut allergy, but it's, if they're not roasted, some tree nuts, they can make my throat a bit scratchy. Anyway, so they were £2.49 for 180 grams. Nuts are not cheap, it should be said. They are quite expensive, but just adding a few and a mixture every day just really helps get that variety in. I was listening to a podcast today with Tim Spector, you know, the guy that from Zoe, and he does a lot about gut microbiome. And apparently one of the key things to having a good, healthy gut microbiome, you know, that's going to help your physical health, your brain health, your mental well-being, everything like that, is plant diversity. You may have heard the thing they say where you should have 30 different plants a week, which can sound daunting, but it includes things like spices, herbs, coffee, nuts, seeds, cacao powder, all sorts of things like that. So actually, once you start to count what you're eating, you know, as long as you're not having the same meal every day and the same 2 or 3 vegetables every day, you can get that diversity in. And nuts and seeds, great way to add to that. So that's my walnuts. Then I got some, oh sorry, that was almonds. I'm about to go on to walnuts. Just some walnuts. Now I like these, I usually have a few of these just maybe crushed up on top of a salad usually. I don't eat these in great quantity. I wouldn't really eat these on their own. They're quite nice, a couple of them with a date as a snack. Yeah, so that's my walnuts. Then you'll see when I put together my salad lunch, I have pumpkin seeds, but I also needed some more sunflower seeds. I love these. I've always loved sunflower seeds, even as a kid. I'm like a little squirrel. So, let me just get my scoop out of the jar. So just fill that up. So, oops, it's a nice big jar of sunflower seeds. And then a couple of different things. Now, you've probably seen me talk a lot about chickpeas. I eat chickpeas a lot, and I often roast them in the air fryer because, I don't know, I like putting a coating on them. I like them a bit crispy and crunchy. And I would never normally buy these, but They are literally just chickpeas, which are already roasted. And I thought, well, if I'm in a rush and I don't want to cook up a whole tin, I just want a little snack or just a little topping on a salad, this might be quite useful. So I've never tried these. Let me just get my scissors to open the bag. Let me try them. Oh, they're nice. Oh, they're really nice. Yeah. It tastes like mine, except I usually put nutritional yeast and maybe a bit of spices on the outside, but you could add that. Yeah, they're really tasty. Yum yums. Yum yums. I'm sorry, that's sort of rubbish I say at home. So that's just something that's going to be a little bit of a time saver for me when I just want a few of them. Because normally I have to roast, you know, you have to do a whole tin and then you've really got to eat it. Well, I tend to eat it across a couple of meals, you know. So that's with chickpeas. And then, excuse me, in the spirit of trying something new, this is not massively different, but I saw these in the shop because they say this shop's like, it's called Istanbul Gate. So it's this sort of Turkish, Middle Eastern, North African foods mainly, but Greek, all sorts of things. And they had these blue raisins, mavis. But they just look like kind of, they look quite, I don't know if you can see them there. They look like, really like just dried grapes. Some of them have got the little stalks on still. But I thought, I don't really tend to eat raisins just on their own. I will try one though. But I like them in the savoury dish. Sometimes if I make a yoghurt bowl, I'll put a few in. Let's see what they're like. Oh, they're very nice. They're a bit, they're a bit softer than some raisins that you get. You know, just your bog standard raisin, which I do have. Yeah, they're quite sweet. They're lovely, actually. I'd say I don't really eat raisins on their own, but I like them with things or in things. I actually like to make like a Middle Eastern food with like, you know, like a couscous or a bulgur wheat type of thing. So that's when I've got smaller things, I use my old jam jars. So you don't need to buy storage. And this is, you know, it's better for you, isn't it, really, putting things in glass. Anyway, so that's topped up my storage cupboard. So I'm going to grab some other bits and pieces and I'm going to show you the sort of lunch I often have, which is usually a big mixed salad. Now, if you're someone that doesn't like salad as it gets colder, you could do the same thing, but with cooked vegetables, like roasted vegetables, roasted peppers, courgettes, sweet potato, or you could do more of a bowl. You know, I don't know if you've ever been to these places that do like where they might have a hot grain in them, like rice, and then some hot vegetables and maybe some cold bits as well. So it doesn't have to be cold salad based. I quite like that though. So let me get some bits together and I'll show you how I make my sort of usual lunch base and the sort of things I add to it. Right, I've got all my bits assembled. So I usually start with a plate of just leaves. I like rocket, and that's mainly rocket. There's a little bit of spinach in there. So that's my base. And what I think you're going to find is that the way I construct my lunch is it looks like quite a lot because you know, I like a big plate of food, really, to be honest. I know some people prefer to eat smaller quantities of maybe denser food. I like a larger quantity of less energy dense food because it fills me up. So a lot of the base is actually very watery, I suppose, and not energy dense, but very good, full of nutrients, vitamins, polyphenols, all that good stuff. And you'll notice a lot of plant variety. And this doesn't have to come from the fact that I'm a vegan. You know, this plant variety as a base for your meal is something really, according to the experts, of which I'm not one, we should all be aiming for. So I've got my leaves, then I have some cucumber. Never know whether cucumber's actually doing me any good because it is basically just water, but I quite like the taste of it. Then I'm going to have some tomatoes. Now, I'm a fussy fusspot. I have to de-seed my tomatoes. I don't like the seeds in them. Yes, I know, what a baby. But again, we've got different colours here, and we're just building flavour because I think the key to maintaining weight loss and sustaining staying on a healthy eating plan for life, not just while you're losing weight, but more importantly after you've lost weight, because after you've lost weight, some of that sort of excitement, if you like, can go, you know, that sort of excitement of seeing your weight and your body change, and you realise, well, this is it for life now, I've got to stick with this, is you've got to find something you really enjoy, and I really enjoy the way I eat. But also you've got to find what you can sustain. There's no point saying I'm going to have one meal a day, for example, if you can't sustain that. Because you know what it's like, ladies, within a week you are in the fridge binging. We've all been there, I'm sure. So it's about what can you sustain. You know, if you say I'm going to go to the gym 4 times a week and you know damn well that's not going to happen, you're more likely to give up rather than saying I'm going to go twice a week just for 20 minutes, see how I can build from there. So that's my sort of philosophy, if you like, is what can you sustain, what can you enjoy, and I think if you can, you know, there's that old 80-20 principle, isn't there? You know, 80% of what you know, your effort, you know, as long as 80% of what you eat is good, that's going to usually do you pretty well. I've butchered that phrase, but whatever. But, you know, I think if you can just focus on doing as much right and as much as you can sustain, don't worry about things that you know you cannot maintain for the rest of your life. Because, you know, it's better to be doing it mostly right. And I think a good place to start is like here, where we're building a nice base. Everything I've put on the plate so far is just vegetable. So we've got some nice red pepper. Then what am I doing next? Oh yeah, now I don't normally have these, but I'm going to put some edamame beans on. I'll come back to them. Now I like fruit in my salad, so I usually have a few blueberries, because I tend not to snack on fruit in between meals, because A, I don't snack really very much, and B, I don't know, the dentist always tells me it's not good for my teeth. I sometimes have I do have some fruit in the afternoon occasionally, but I have it with some, you know, nuts or something to sort of temper that a little bit. But I do very much like sweet foods with savoury foods. I know maybe that's an odd thing, but also berries, of which we've got blueberries and kiwi as a berry. Very, very good for you. They're not high sugar fruits, not that I think we need to worry particularly about the sugar in whole fruits at all, but if that is something that you're concerned about, these are not high sugar fruits at all. They had a lovely flavour, and just again a variety. So far we've got spinach, rocket, peppers, tomatoes, cucumber, blueberries, kiwis. So that's already 7 different plants, and we're going to add more. So, and I'm sure some of you think, good Lord, Elsa, that is a massive plateful, but this is how I like to eat. It's how I lost 7 stone. So I don't feel any, you know, going back to my last video, I don't feel any shame in the fact that this is a massive plate. This is what I like to have. Right, let me just dry my hands up a second, people. Okay, so that's my sort of vegetably fruity base. And then what I'm going to do next is start to add my seeds and things that I like. So I would normally have a few different ones. So I've got a few sunflower seeds. One's gone missing there. So what's that? That's 8 different plants. Some pumpkin seeds is 9. Now, also, I think some people are scared of nuts and seeds because they think, oh, it's such high fat. But they're good fats that are proven, I mean, according to the NHS, proven to lower your cholesterol. You know, there's a difference between eating saturated fats off of things like, you know, processed cakes and red meat and stuff like that, and these sorts of fats. Excuse me, I'm just having a cup of tea. Hang on. Sorry about that, peeps. And, you know, we all need fat. Our brains are made up of fat. We run on fat, essentially, partly. And, you know, I don't think we should be scared. Obviously, if you were to eat all of them, that's a lot of calories. But as you can see, I'm just sprinkling, I'm layering the flavours, layering the different plants, and it's all going to contribute towards giving me a good balance. It's just about moderation, isn't it, really? And, you know, I think we all know that if you eat a massive bowl of peanuts, you're going to eat a lot of calories, but you don't, you know, it's about just adding different bits. I've got some milled chia seeds, and I mix these up. I don't always put them on all the time. I've got flax seeds, which I'm not going to put on today. So I've got those. And then I'm going to, why not, bang in a couple of walnuts. I only ever have a couple of these because I have to say they do tend to upset my tummy if I have too many. And I just sort of crumble them over a little bit. So maybe just one walnut there. But again, very good for your brain, lots of omegas and stuff in there. And then, why not? As they're new, I'll throw a few chickpeas on. So what did we get up to? We got up to, I think, 9, 10 with the chia seeds, 11 with the walnuts, 12 with the chickpeas. So that's usually my basic base. And then what I would usually add is like a protein, a sort of like a solid type thing to it. Now that might be tofu, tempeh, it might be some roasted chickpeas, it might be lentils, it might be beans. What I'm going to do today is I've got a few of the chickpeas, and also I'm going to, let me just grab a spoon to get those out. I don't normally have these. They look a bit anemic, but they were out of a tin and they were organic. They were edamame beans, which obviously are soybeans. So good protein. I have a love-hate relationship with these. Sometimes I like them, sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I like them. But they're good to throw in. It's always good to throw something different in. And, you know, they're not the main part of the meal. They're just an added bit. So I've got some protein sauce on there. Now, to be honest, if I was having tempeh or tofu, I would probably have a bit more than that. Let me just, so you can see that. Let me just show you that. I'm just going to pop the camera back up. Bear with. That's better. I can see you again now. So yeah, what I would normally do is have, if I was having something that I pre-prepared like tofu or tempeh, or maybe air fried it, I'd probably have a bit more. But what I'm going to have with this today is a slice of sourdough toast with some tahini on. This is the tahini. Again, I get this from the Istanbul shop. Because they have so many different types, but again, another good source of fats, a seed, good source of protein. So I'd have a little bit of this on toast. Sometimes I make a dressing out of this, so that's adding again. If I was having the tofu or tempeh, I wouldn't have a slice of sourdough toast, but I happen to have a little bit of bread left in the cupboard, so I'm going to have that with it. So, and then I usually just put on, if I'm not making a tahini dressing or something, I usually just put on some balsamic vinegar. And then you've got the creaminess with the tahini, you've got the creaminess with the beans, the nuts, the seeds, and I tend to just mix it all together. Oh, the one thing I forgot that I always put on top as well is a bit of nutritional yeast. That's a sort of a yeasty, cheesy, savoury flavour. I just sprinkle a bit of that on top. And then what I tend to do is just mix the whole flipping lot together, and it's absolutely lovely. I really enjoy it. So what did we get up to? So with the tahini, I think we get up to like 12 plants. Which is, when you say 30 plants a week as diversity, that sounds really confusing and like, oh, I would never get there. But you think that is not only a massive plate of food, which satisfies your stomach, and I also think, when you see it visually, you think, what a lovely, rich, complex meal. I mean, I think you've got to agree, that looks a lot better than a cup of diet soup and a skinny bar or something, or whatever, or something very bland. And you could mix this up according to your dietary requirements. You could, as I said, you could have a hot based salad. You could have it with, instead of having the chickpeas and the beans, you could have some fish or some chicken, or whatever you eat, or some cheese. There's loads of things, but I think getting the base of all the vegetables, the salad, the fruit, the nuts and the seeds, you're getting that solid plant diversity base, and it's going to keep you full up, it's going to nourish you, and I think it makes you feel a sense of, what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, I cannot remember any words nowadays, but you feel like satisfied visually and emotionally as well, because it's not like you're deprived. There's no deprivation, that's what I was trying to say. You don't feel deprived. You think, well, I've got a decent, lovely plate of food there. And for me, that's what I like. I prefer a big plate of food that's maybe lower calorie than a small plate of food that's higher calorie. So that's going to be my lunch. And what I'm going to do is just quickly clear this up, have my lunch, and then I'm going to give you just a quick couple of snacky ideas as well, because I don't always have a snack. And in fact, sometimes I'll have my snack as a sort of a pudding after my lunch. and then go through till dinner. And you know, I have an early dinner about by 6 o'clock usually, because I have that sort of eating window. So sometimes I'll have it with, and then, you know, because I think it is better to sort of take it all in one go. It's easier on the gut and my teeth. It depends. Sometimes late afternoon I am peckish and I will reach for a snack. I just listen to how I'm feeling, really. So anyway, that's one great lunch idea. And as I say, you could adapt that, just building from those building blocks. You could have roast vegetables. You could have a mixture of greens and a grain like rice or quinoa or couscous or bulgur wheat as the base. You know, I think just slinging on as many fruits and vegetables as you like, whether they're cooked or raw, slinging some good fats with your nuts and seeds. Then you're going to put your protein type topping on or whatever. And you're setting yourself up for success there, I think. And I think that's quite an easy meal. Now, I know on the go that's not such an easy option, but there are varieties you could do. You could put some of that into a wrap, for example, or a pita bread, put it in a Tupperware, take it to work. Anyway, I'm going to try and come up with some more options for you, like wintry things. Maybe we'll do some soups and stews and things like that at some point as well. I can see my little dog's up and about. Anyway, I'm going to have this, and then I'm going to come out and talk about snacks. Hi, so on to snacks just quickly, just a few ideas for you. I see so many of these sort of diet bar snacks, and they are, well, I think they're rubbish. They're usually filled with additives, protein bar snack, those sorts of things. These skinny bars or whatever they're called. And they've not got anything much in them. They don't keep you full up. I used to eat them years ago when I was on Weight Watchers and things. And you have like 2 mouthfuls, they're gone, like a puff of nothing. And then, you know, I started to try and have more of the healthy type snack bars. So I'd go to Holland and Barrett, which is a health store if you're in this country, if you're not watching from the UK. But when you look at the stuff, not only is it quite expensive, even if it's got good ingredients, if you break it down, you could eat the base ingredients. It's going to be better for you. It's going to be cheaper. You can mix and match the ingredients as you like. You can moderate your intake rather than the set amount of the bar. And I think it just works out better all round. And I've found that it suits me. Now, just a couple of ideas, you know, without getting into recipes, because of course you can make these like energy balls. I've made them before. They're quite useful, you know, with like coconut oil and cacao and dates and all that sort of malarkey. But just simple things. If you think about when you see one of these bars, what's in it? It's often fruit and nuts. Maybe it has some chocolate or something in it. Maybe some oats or, you know, crispy bits or whatever. It's sweet. It's a little bit fatty. It's a little bit filling. It's a little something satisfying. It's going to keep you going without it being too stodgy or heavy. So, I mean, my first go-to snack that I often have just after lunch is some grapes. Now, this looks really boring, I know, but I like this. And again, in the spirit of sort of satisfying everything, our mind, body and soul, and feeling like we're treating ourselves well, I like to have it in a cute little bowl, which looks like a strawberry, because it makes me feel like, oh, I'm treating myself. God knows why, it's ridiculous. It's all psychological. Also, it's small, so it contains the size of the snack. So that's just some nice, really nice black grapes and a couple of Brazil nuts, which are my favourite. Sometimes I'll have some grapes with a teaspoon of peanut butter in there. Very nice. So you're sort of deconstructing that fruit and nut bar. Another snack, I don't have any of these at the minute, but I often have medjool dates. So I have 2 medjool dates. I have to because any more upset my tummy. But that's satisfying. They're very sticky. They taste like a sweet. They taste like toffee. I sometimes put peanut butter in them or any nut butter, or I'll have them with just plain nuts. Because a lot of these health bars you'll find are date-based with nuts. Maybe I've seen the roasted chickpeas mixed in. That's something you could mix in. Sometimes I put peanut butter in and freeze them so they go a little bit hard and it sort of makes them chewier. Something else I've been trying recently, and I've tried this on my yogurt bowls, is when I make a tahini dressing, I put water in and you can sort of whip it and it goes quite sort of, I don't know, it sort of goes smooth. It's quite nice. It goes a bit runnier and a bit smooth. So I've tried it with peanut butter. And what I've done is peanut butter, a little bit of water, sort of mix it up. It takes a while to get going. It'll sort of seize for a bit and then it'll go. And a little bit of cacao powder. And what you end up with is a chocolatey, nutty sauce. No sugar. I find, and this may be from re-educating my palate over the years and not eating as much, you know, sweeties and things. But I find it satisfies that need for something chocolatey, fatty, nutty. It tastes sweet to me because I put cinnamon in as well. That has a sweetness. I put cinnamon in virtually everything I make. Put that on top of a bowl of, you know, a great afternoon snack. Couple of spoons of Greek yogurt. I have coconut or soy yogurt, but you know, you could have just regular Greek yogurt or natural yogurt. No sugar, nothing in it. Get the one that's just completely plain. Throw in some berries, maybe a few seeds, chuck on a bit of nut butter or this cacao mixture or a bit of cinnamon. And believe me, it won't take long before you find that very satisfying. If you get yourself off those very fakey tasting, sweetener filled bars that are just, as I say, a puff of nothing, they don't fill you, you'll soon find that sort of stuff more satisfying. I've also put the peanut butter and cacao mixture into a date and frozen it. So I think have a look at the snacks you like and sort of deconstruct what are they giving you, what are they made of, how can you eat those ingredients in a more natural way. You know, if it is a chocolate bar with, you know, puffed rice and nuts and fruit in, you know, maybe have some roasted chickpeas or some nuts and a bit of dried fruit or fresh berries, and then mix some cacao powder and some nut butter in or something. Even, you know, a teaspoon of maple syrup if you really need that extra sweet hit. I mean, I try not to have it because I don't feel I need it actually. I've sort of got out of the habit. I did when I first started, I used to have a little bit, but you can really easily give yourself a much more natural snack, and you're going to save money. You're going to save money not buying these packs of bars and things or going on the go. And, you know, I am the first one to love a really nice pastry or cake or something if I'm out and about. But then, you know, that's something I'm going to treat myself to. It's going to be something a lot nicer than some manky little bar that I've tried to think, oh, can I go? You know, I used to buy those Nutri-Grain bars or Tracker bars, and they never satisfied me. They were just one mouthful and they were gone. So have a look at what you can make as a nice snack. There's lots of random things you can put together. I tend to go, my school of cookery for me is, what flavours do I like? And I just mix them together and see what they taste like. You can't really go wrong. You know, what's the worst that's going to happen? You won't like it. Anyway, I think that's all I've got for today. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm definitely going to try and do some more food videos in the future. And maybe if you'd be interested, we can go and have a look around the shops together, see what's in there. Yeah, so again, hope that was useful. Let me know if there's any other food questions you have. In the meantime, if you would like and subscribe, that would be really kind of you. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.